Hello, this is Aaron Bartel with Kringle Tech, and today I'm going to show you how to create a new Litmis space. Litmis spaces are pre-configured environments where you can code on an IBMI using things like Node.js, Ruby on Rails, Python, etc. So let's jump into it and you'll see all the things that you can do as this unfolds. First, head over to spaces.litmis.com, click sign in. Best to sign in with your GitHub profile. I'm already logged into GitHub, so it's just going to pass back the authentication token and then redirect me to my spaces area. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. That's an existing space that I'm deleting. I'm going to go ahead and create a new space. So new space is pre-configured with a flavor of a language and corresponding frameworks. So in this case, I'm going to create a Node.js space. Give it a name, click create. Now this is going to apply that space to my profile. And there's a couple things that you want to do with a space. One, gain access to a shell prompt so that you can run various commands in PASE, P-A-S-E. And then also, two, edit your code via a browser-based code editor. And that's one of the significant points about Litmis spaces. You don't need to configure stuff on your local environment, so you don't need to install Node.js locally or Git locally. Instead, you can operate entirely from the browser side of things. So to that point, let's attempt to open up a shell prompt here. And it'll recognize that we don't yet have a browser plugin called Secure Shell installed, so it directs us to the Chrome store. Notice I'm in the Chrome web browser, and we're going to add this application to our Chrome web browser. Alright, so it's installed. Let's close this. Let's go back over here and refresh the page. Now when we click on this, it's going to attempt to create an SSH session into the IBMI. Here it's saying, hey, do you want to accept the fingerprint of the IBMI server that's in the cloud? We're going to hit yes. And then it'll fail because the server only allows what's called public key authentication, meaning we need to have a key on our end that's used to authenticate our profile to the remote server. So first what we need to do is we need to download some pre-generated keys that exist on the server. Oh, I'm sorry. We go to the SSH keys menu option. And then here is the generated key. So we're going to download the private key and the public key. And then we're going to import both of these into Secure Shell. So I'm going to go into C, choose another connection, and this brings me to the configuration screen. I'm going to select the import, select the files I just downloaded. Both of them need to be selected. Alright, now they're imported. We can see that here. Now I can go back, select spaces, and open up the shell. And we're presented with a prompt. So now I'm actually logged into the IBMI, so I can do a print working directory. Here's the folder that I'm within. I can check to see that Node is installed and what version it is. Alright, very good. Let's close out this other one. The other cool aspect of Litmis Spaces is that you can do your code right in the browser. So this is going to bring up the editor. So I'm going to start that. That takes a little while to start up, so I'm just going to let that run in the background while we talk about this next bit. So what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is basically doing an initial Node.js application using the Express.js framework. And this is an article we wrote back in May of 2015, and we're just going to, for the most part, follow this to a T. So we're going to make a directory for our application, go into that directory, install Express, and then copy and paste the very small application into it. So let's go back to our editor tab. Right now what it's doing is it's downloading a bunch of JavaScript files. There we go. So we can create the directory here, so new folder, or we can do that from our secure shell. So we could do make a directory, let's just call it app1, and change into app1. Alright. And the next step we need to do is install the Express module. npm install Express. Express is a framework used by Node.js, or on top of Node.js, that can be used to create web applications. So what that's doing right now is it's going out to the internet, checking npmjs.org for the Express package, and if it finds it, it'll go ahead and download it and install it into our home directory, the directory that we're inside of right now. These errors are expected, so basically it wasn't able to connect via HTTPS, probably because we don't have a certificate authority installed that's being offered up by this website. So instead it retrieves the files via regular HTTP. Alright, so now we can see that it went ahead and installed Express, and here's all of Express's dependencies. So that's very cool, and at this point we're ready to copy and paste the application from the article into our code editor. So we're going to go over here, we're going to refresh, and there's our app. Here's the modules that we just downloaded that include Express, and we're going to create a new file called app.js. This is where we're going to store the primary entry point of our application. I'm just going to paste that code from previous into here. Now we need to change the port. Each Litmis space is given a certain amount of ports that are dedicated to it. So in this case, 50123 is the app development port that the web application can listen to when you're doing application development. There's also one for testing and production. Also on that note, there's 3 different database schemas or collections or libraries that are created for you. One for development, testing, and production. So going back to the code here, we're going to go ahead and paste in the port of the IBMI we want this to listen on. Save it. So now that's in the IFS. We can check that by doing an ls. There's our app.js. If we do a cat app.js, it'll just display it back to us. So we can see there's the port we just added. Alright, so now we can actually start up our application. So let's do node app.js. And then let's go back over here, and there's a hyperlink here where we can open up a new browser window and have it point at that port. So you can see here we've got hello world. We could change that to be anything. So save that. I'm going to hit Control-C to stop the application, up arrow, start the application again, go back over here, refresh, and there we go. So that concludes this tutorial of how to do your first Litmis space.